Welcome back, everybody, to our last podcast of the year, December 2016. We're going to be talking about the Paper Mario series. Everything from the original to the most recent release, Color Splash. With me is Chris.
Yes, I'm here, and for once in my life, I seem to have played a game that you haven't played.
That's true, a Nintendo game, no less, and a Mario game. So, yeah, I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts on that, because I actually have not played this, and if you've been following the talk behind this game, it's a little bit controversial, so I'm really curious about what Chris has to say, because I have no idea, honestly. I'll be learning with you guys. But before we get to that, we're going to take a look back at the series history. So, the original Paper Mario came out February 5th, 2001, and it was actually pretty controversial itself at the time, which makes history repeating itself all the more interesting. So when Paper Mario was released, it was done by Intelligent Systems instead of Squaresoft, who did Mario RPG, and it had a pretty crazy looking visual style to it.
They adopted that style because of the graphical capabilities of the N64. Like, they couldn't really do, fully 3D characters to the extent that the... so, like, if you took Paper Mario as it is, it made all the characters 3D, it would have taken a lot of processing power.
Yeah, it would have been a project probably on the scale of Super Mario 64 or even bigger, just because of all the environments and the characters they had to put in. And, I mean, as far as I know, like, RPGs like Final Fantasy VII at the time were extremely expensive endeavors.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of comes with a set of expectations. So using that style, they were kind of able to work around that limitation. They had a fixed camera, you know, a la Luigi's Mansion, where it's not really dynamic. It's kind of focused on this sort of planar playing field. Naturally, a lot of people were kind of like, "Whoa, that's surprising." I mean, it didn't really look anything like Super Mario RPG, which had kind of this rendered quality. It was trying to look more 3D, more realistic.
But it was originally called Super Mario RPG 2.
That's true. It was originally called that. I'm not really sure of the name change. I guess because they wanted to keep those expectations in check, just for, like, I don't know if people wanted to see the Mario RPG exclusive characters returning, or if they expected the same type of, I don't know, visual style or whatever. But yeah, it eventually became Mario Story, I believe, in Japan, and then Paper Mario over here, which is also kind of a confusing title if you think about it. It doesn't really say that it's an RPG or anything. It just says he's Mario and he's made of paper. So it's kind of interesting because it's kind of almost the opposite of what Yoshi's Story did, where it tried to have really realistic looking kind of textured things in a 2D environment. This was trying to be very flat and stylized in a 3D environment. So anyway, Paper Mario. What'd you think of this game, Chris? Because I want to snidely make some comments derisively at your direction after you talk.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually really like Paper Mario. The first time I played it, I think I was a bit turned off by that disparity between its gameplay and design and that of Super Mario RPG, which I was a big fan of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to make fun of you for.
Well,
you beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Well, there was a time in my life, yes, where I was like, ew, this game isn't as good as Mario RPG, but that's not... I played it again a few years ago, and I like it a lot. I think in some ways it's the best designed Paper Mario game. There's less backtracking than in most other games. It's just got a solid, story, a lot of varied characters and locations. It's got just a fun cast, good music. There's really nothing wrong with it. I think it's a fun game.
Yeah, one of the things that really surprised me with Paper Mario was how they really scaled down the element of, statistics and everything. All your damage is very low numbers, and it's always pretty much exact, Yeah. It's not even that, it's kind of like a ballpark for each hit based on the defense and stuff. Like, you'll know the enemy's attack, defense, and HP, and you can calculate to the number exactly what your damage is going to deal. So it's almost like a game of chess where you can sort of plan all these moves in advance to minimize your damage and maximize your output, which I haven't really found in any other RPG series to this level of
precision.
Precision, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's really cool about it. I feel like this could almost be a subgenre in its own right, because it's kind of a deceptively simple thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to figure out, but if you want to play to the most of your ability, it's really got a lot of thought put into it. And I would almost liken it to stuff like Mario Kart or Smash Brothers in that way, in that they're easy to pick up, but they have enough depth to keep you hooked.
Yeah, I think when I first played the game, I was a little turned off by that, but I didn't appreciate the depth of it. and it seemed like it was like a, I don't know, like a more kiddie version of an RPG, because you have like, you know, low damage numbers and everything's, it seems simplified by comparison to Mario RPG or the Squaresoft RPGs on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, there's less stats in general to keep track of.
You have a smaller party, less stats, less abilities. There's less complexity in terms of those things. But there's an elegance to the game and how the combat works and the badge system. I definitely appreciate it much more as I've replayed it a few years ago.
Yeah, the badge system was another one. It was another thing I wanted to mention, because I felt that was just so smartly implemented, because it lets you do all sorts of customization to your character.
Yeah.
And it really helps give the game that feeling of, you know, precision and being able to tweak the battles to the way you like them. So you could either go all out on offense, you know, you could make a very tank-like Mario. You could go with a bunch of special moves and level up your special moves and badge points if you want to, you know, focus on things that hit everything. And everything feels pretty balanced to me. Mm-hmm. I've actually gone through Paper Mario and played a badge point only game. You know, like I would only raise my badge points until I reached, you know, the max, and then I would raise like flower or HP or whatever. It makes for a really fun experience because you've got so many options at your disposal, you know, when coming into any situation. There's a really good element to the game that I feel is actually one of the best elements, really, is the badge system for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but the portrayal of Peach in Paper Mario is one of her best portrayals in any Mario game. There's a lot to like about her in this game. She's strong, she's smart, she's not just sitting back waiting for Mario to save her.
Yeah, she's still in character. She's got that dainty sort of peachness to her, but that, you know, it's very endearing with all those other qualities going on.
Yeah.
You play as Peach between each chapter. Like it'll alternate between Mario chapters, you know, which are much longer, and the shorter Peach chapters where she's kind of sneaking around the castle, basically trying to escape or trying to get in contact with Mario. And it's really fun. You know, in one of them you're baking a cake for this really fat shy guy. And Chris, I think you linked me to a video that was like it showed that you could bake the cake for like a huge number of years or something.
Yeah. And
if you press it at the right time, you'd still like it.
Yeah, because it rolls over. That was a video by Strider7X, who does a lot of really great Paper Mario videos. He's really like torn the game apart in terms of finding all these crazy bugs.
Yeah. But yeah, the Peach element was a really welcome element. And like one point you're going through Bowser's diary, so it had that nice characterization of Bowser as well. And I think both these characterizations kind of started in Super Mario RPG, so it was nice to see them kind of carry that on to the newer games.
We will get to discussing how that ripples on to the later games as well, because I think I'm not sure that it maintains its strength.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So speaking of which, Paper Mario 2, the 1,000-Year Door on the
1,000-Year Door. This has kind of become the holy grail for a lot of the series fans.
Yeah.
1,000-Year Door is kind of placed on a bit of a pedestal as the shining example of what a Paper Mario game should be. Now, not for everybody, you know. Obviously, some people still prefer the first one, and some people do prefer some of the later ones. But 1,000-Year Door, by and large, is a very popular game. You know, it's remembered very fondly.
Yeah, for good reason. The first thing that comes to my mind is the battle system, which is refined and just brilliant. It took the Paper Mario battle system and added extra layers to it and more interactions, like the stylish moves.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. I never got tired of battles in that game. I would have loved to see a new game come out that builds on what 1,000-Year Door did in terms of the combat.
Yeah, it's a really good battle system. I think it's kind of a shame that that specific battle system has just kind of become a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot they can still do with that kind of combat, and yeah, like you said, it added things to the combat without breaking it or imbalancing it. You know, I mean, even making the partners have their own HP now and being able to switch with Mario is a pretty big deal. You know, you think that'd be kind of hard to work into the current system, but they made it work really well.
They did.
One of the things I wanted to point out was the variance in the scenarios that come up. They feel like they've really just stretched their legs and did all sorts of crazy things for these chapters. Like, I mean, obviously the first one that comes to mind is Glitzville, where you're the Great Gonzalez and you're fighting your way up the ranks to fight Rockhawk, you know, who's like this really goofy kind of this wrestling bird thing, and but behind all the scenes is But behind all that, behind the scenes, you have this mystery story about, you know, corruption and the disappearance of fighters and secret backdoor entrances and stuff. And it's really cool. It turns into this really great little story that's self-contained that feels like a very refreshing kind of plot line in an RPG. There's also Twilight Town, where you get your name stolen, literally, by a villain when you think the chapter is over, and you have to wander around as Mario's shadow while he goes around saying, "Hey, it's me, Mario, woohoo," whatever. You know, and all your partners are like surrounding him, and they're like, "Hey, Mario, you seem kind of different," you know? So it's really clever. They got a lot of creative scenarios in there. There's a murder mystery on a train.
Yeah, the train.
Maybe not a murder mystery, but a mystery.
Yeah, it's like a, you know, it feels like a murder mystery. Yeah,
it's a caper.
It's a caper.
And yeah, so there's a lot of those really cool scenarios mixed in with a great combat. I think kind of an agreed upon issue with this game is the backtracking. There's a lot of going back and forth between a couple areas.
I don't know about a lot. Yeah, it's a couple areas. It's when I played the game last, that was a complaint of mine, but yeah, I don't think it's. Here I am defending the backtracking in the game where I thought I was going to be the one to bring it up, but
I mean, it's not a huge amount of the game. I think if you distilled it, it'd probably be maybe an hour or two out of a 30-hour game, which is, you know, it could be worse. But it is something that I think was not really prevalent in the original Paper Mario. I think they spaced out their environments a little bit better in that one.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I also liked how they raised the badge limit, so I can really play the game pretty much without ever leveling up something else and just focus on badges, which comes in handy when you're doing the game's super side challenges, which is like include the pit of 100 trials. That's what it was, where you're going down this pit fighting harder and harder enemies. And there's, you know, there's self-imposed challenges now online where people try to do that as early as possible, you know, with the stuff they have available. And it's just a really creative and fun game where you have all these different ways to play, and it's got, you know, the same great writing that the first one had.
Yeah, we didn't mention the writing, but the writing in both games is really strong. I don't know, you know, might even say the second one's better, maybe, but they're both really good.
I think around the time of Paper Mario, that's really where I would draw the line where the Nintendo Treehouse localization kind of reached its modern era.
Yeah.
It feels like from then on they've been very very tight and very smart with their writing for the most part. So that was in your door. Do you think it's better than the first?
Maybe a touch, because the battle system is so good. Like the battle system is great, and I really like the town actually.
Yeah, Rogueport.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of fun side quests. It's fun to explore. There's a lot of fun, like, interesting characters there. It's a cool idea for a starting town, compared to the kind of banal, you know, Toad Town.
Yeah. I kind of go back and forth with them. Yeah. I'd probably put Paper Mario slightly higher, but it's a close race. Like if I did my top 50 games, they would both be sitting in, I don't know, 30s or so.
So after that came Super Paper Mario.
Yeah, Super Paper.
That was on the Wii, and it came out. Well, do you know what
year it was originally supposed to be on the GameCube.
Oh.
They pushed it back to the Wii. Yeah, it was going to be one of the last GameCube games, and they pushed it back to the Wii to fill out the early lineup a little more. It came out April 9th, 2007.
In Thousand Year Door, they introduced these new paper powers that you have, where you can, like, turn into a little roll, and you can, like, turn sideways.
Airplane, paper airplane.
An airplane, yeah. So all these different abilities kind of incorporate the paper element into the game a little more, which was kind of cool, because you're like, oh, you really feel like you're like this 2D object in this world. And Super Paper Mario kind of took that to the next level in some ways.
Super Paper Mario, well, the 2D object, the 3D world was definitely the main hook. You could normally it's completely planar. You know, you're like you're on a flat surface like in the Super Mario Brothers games instead of on an angled surface like in the Paper Mario games.
Right.
But when you press the button, the camera rotates 90 degrees, and now you're walking towards and away from the camera. And it's actually a really neat idea. It's almost one that I think is a little underutilized, because I could almost see like a Mario platformer game using this in a really cool way. In Super Paper Mario, it's kind of neat. You have some neat visual trickery going on. Like you'll be in a recreation of World 1-1 or 1-2, and then you'll turn it to the side. There'll be all these surprises, you know, things behind other things. But it's kind of an odd game. You know, it's a platformer at heart rather than an RPG. But it's got some RPG elements. So you level up by getting enough points from stomping on enemies. Which is, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I don't really know how to describe it that well when I think about how I feel about it. I mean, I liked it. I just, it's really Paper Mario in name only, almost, because, I mean, it's got the recipes, it's got Mario and his paper, you know. But for the most part, the scenarios are pretty different. The exploration feels different. It's a different kind of game. I don't think there's really anything else like it.
What about the writing? Do you think the characters and the writing are up to the same level as the previous Paper Mario games?
Yeah, I think it's largely pretty good. I don't think the cast stuck with me as much because your side characters are now like Peach and Bowser, rather than, which is, you know, I mean, nothing wrong with Peach and Bowser, obviously, but they had big roles to play in the past games without being side characters, while your other partners are really just have one line apiece, and you get them. They're kind of a tool that you use. They're called the pixels.
I see.
So it doesn't feel like it has as wide a variety of cast members. The main villain and his posse are kind of interesting. They have kind of an interesting backstory, and it feels pretty dynamic at a few spots. I remember one chapter, you would get killed. Your game is over. And you go down into the underwear, which is, it's called UNDERWHERE, underwear.
Okay.
Right? And those are the first two levels. It's like a River Styx thing, like a Hades thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually you emerge from there and go into the over there, which is kind of a heaven level, where you're going up clouds and stuff. So I remember them doing a few creative things like that. It's just such a strange game. It's hard to recommend to fans of Paper Mario because it's so different. But if you're in the mood for something different, it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good game. So now you haven't played Super Paper Mario.
No, I have not.
You bypassed it.
And as a big fan of Paper Mario, if Super Paper Mario had been kind of a sequel to, you know, the other Paper Marios, I'm sure I would have. But it looked like a platformer. It just didn't look that appealing to me, so I didn't pick it up.
The 3D stuff isn't as done as well as I would have liked. You know, you're only in the 3D world for a limited amount of time before you have to start taking damage arbitrarily. And the actual platforming in 3D it's kind of janky. You know, it does not feel like Mario 64 or anything.
Does it control like Paper Mario? Like it...
pretty much. You can jump higher. You know, you have a much higher jump.
But you know, actually, I feel that's kind of the weakest part of the Paper Mario games is the actual movement and jumping, and Mario just feels kind of slow, and he doesn't jump very high, and like the collision with objects in the environment is usually a little, I don't know, just feels a little clunky to me.
Yeah.
So
it's an RPG first, and
right, which is fine for the first two games, but for Super Paper Mario, I would have assumed they would tighten that up a bit.
I mean, he was probably a little faster. It's been a while since I played. He definitely jumps a lot higher, and I mean, since you're not hitting 3D polygonal things, or at least, you know, kind of vaguely defined ones based on the camera angle. Yeah. It's the platforming itself is tighter than it was in the first two games.
Okay.
There is a late game ability you can get that lets you run, which is kind of funny. You have to earn the ability to run, but it feels a lot faster when you do that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good.
So what came after Super Paper Mario?
That was Sticker Star.
Oh, this was a great game, wasn't it?
This is a controversial game, man. Yeah. People mention this in the same breath as Other M, and like Other M, I can see the complaints. I don't really agree with all of them, but I do agree with some of them. Sticker Star came out November 11th, 2012, and you know, it's sort of odd. Initially it looked like they were going back to the Paper Mario RPG style, you know, the slanted environment, the RPG battles, obviously, but it's odd because initially there was gonna be this story, there was gonna be this change out partner, there were gonna be partners and stuff, and this is kind of infamous because Miyamoto came in and didn't want any of that. He basically made an executive decision that all the characters in this game, besides your partner Kirsty, who's a little floating crown thing, all the characters besides her have to be established characters in the Mario universe. So gone were the partners, gone were individual characters that weren't just Toads, and the result is kind of a game that has a lot less personality than its predecessors. The way you play sticker stars, you go around the 3D environment. It's kind of like, you know, Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, and there's enemies wandering about and stuff. And you solve puzzles and things, but it's different because the combat is now entirely sticker based, which is your stickers are your consumable items, and if you don't have any stickers, I don't think you can fight. I think the game gives you a handful for free if you run out, but otherwise you're throwing items the whole time, and these items have timed attacks like the stomp and the hammer and stuff, but by and large they're you know, you don't get too attached because you're going to be getting rid of them the whole time. The problem is there's no real reward for beating enemies. You get some coins, but it's kind of a toss-up whether the coins really make up for the stickers that you just, you know, spent.
Yeah.
You know, like you're trading one consumable for another consumable. So since there's no leveling system, you can really just kind of walk past enemies if you want. I mean, what are we supposed to fight enemies for, the fun of it? So I don't know. So I think more people had a problem with that than I did because I liked the combat well enough. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't as smart as the other Paper Mario games, but there was still a strategic element to it. It just felt a lot more restrictive. I don't think you could target enemies behind the front enemy in line, for instance. And you know, you're dictated by whatever stickers you currently have on hand. So there's just not that same level of resource management with your HP and your FP that makes, you know, RPGs since Dragon Quest so much fun. So there was that issue, and then there's this further issue with thing stickers, where you need to use these things, which can be anything, like fans and bananas. I don't know if there's a banana actually, but different fruits and stuff that look all realistic and are used to solve puzzles. And if you don't have the right thing, you gotta backtrack to another world and try to find it. And if you don't have the right thing for the boss, you gotta go find that thing. Because this game's actually really hard. I kind of appreciate it for that, because on the one hand, it's kind of nice to be really challenged in a Paper Mario game like this. It almost feels like, and there's a weird comparison, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of the remake at a couple times, Resident Evil remake. Oh. And that you're put into an adventure and with limited resources, and you're struggling to get through these areas and solve puzzles. I don't know, maybe that's too superficial, but I remember having a tough time beating the game. It's probably the hardest final boss in any Mario game, I guess. I was gonna say Mario RPG, but no, any Mario game. It's really hard. So it was kind of rewarding to finally beat it, but I don't know if I'd do it again. It's a little bit of an iffy game because of those elements I mentioned, and just the lack of story stuff was really disappointing. Like, Bowser does not talk at all. No dialogue from the hilarious, reliable Bowser. You know,
aside from the difficulty, this sounds a lot like Color Splash.
Yeah, see, that's why I didn't pick up Color Splash, because I mean, I didn't hate Sticker Star, but I was like, okay, I've had my fill for this kind of game. What's next? Yeah. You know, and I haven't had my fill of the original Paper Mario style, even though we've had 2 games like that. Yep. So, Chris, since you brought it up, take us away to Color Splash, the game that you have played and I have not.
I gotta say, Matthew, this game was pretty disappointing.
Is that right?
We've talked about this many times on the podcast. I don't know why Nintendo likes starting so many of their games like super slowly. You start this game out in this empty town with this slow, kind of sleepy music. Like, the first puzzle is kind of annoying, and it took me a few minutes to actually find, like, you have to find like these buttons around the first atrium to like open up the next thing. And I'm pretty good at games, but I couldn't find one of the things. I was like, I had to look it up. It was really kind of annoying.
Was it like hidden behind something?
Yeah, it's like you have to find like a red block, and you have to find these things that are slightly out of place, and just hit them. And I didn't see the red block because it blends in with the red wall behind it. But so like if you walk
by,
it's
like an Easter egg hunt, Chris.
Yeah, but
you gotta find the Easter eggs.
It started irritating me very early on. I think my biggest complaint about the way it started is like, okay, when you have a game world, and you have like a town that loses all of its essence or whatever, you know, that has a lot more impact if you see the town before it lost the essence.
Oh, so yeah, like, that's kind of a, that's kind of the classic established, you know,
you establish,
the baseline here.
This is a bustling town. You like all the characters. It has this cheery music, and then it's all gone. Oh no! And then
that's what Evangeline does.
Yeah, lots of things do that because it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like, it's much less effective to go into this town cold and be like, what? Nothing hooks you. Nothing draws you in. the game opens with this very dramatic cutscene, and I'm like, wow, this music's kind of dramatic, and this it's like it's a pretty cutscene. You know, it looks nice. That kind of set the stage for what the rest of the game does, where it like the music is actually great in this game. It's lively and very dynamic. There's like, you know, very intense, like scary music. There's like really mysterious music. It sounds great.
Sorry, real quick, I wanted to mention that the music in Sticker Star was actually very good too.
Oh,
and
okay.
from what I heard of Color Splash, it seemed like a similar style, like that kind of smaller band style.
Yeah, it's like a little
really
jazz band or something that's doing most of the music, and it's really good.
Yeah,
but
sorry, go on.
But the game doesn't deserve it. Well, like the game itself doesn't have that life that the music does. Like, for example, the main town in this game, which is, what's it called? Splashport something?
Splatport.
Port Prisma is the main town in this game, and like I said, it starts out being completely empty and like just barren. And I was like, okay, like surely as I, you know, get all the toads back and fix it, it'll be fun and lively. But not really. For one thing, all the townspeople in this game are toads. All of them.
Yeah, I know.
They all look the same. Like
this is like me from 4 years ago or whatever.
I could not. I was so surprised that, you know, you have these very diverse and colorful towns in Paper Mario 1 and 2, and gosh, this town is just so boring. There's nothing to do in it. There's nothing of any interest in this town. Like there's a post office, you can get your letters there. There's a cafe that like, okay, the cafes in this game, they try to make it like a thing, like, oh, there's like cafes all over the place, and they're all like, it's stylish, and the toads are all into the cafes. All the characters are into cafes, but they all sell the same things. They all look the same. They're all staffed by the same toad. Like,
oh, you mean that so the toads don't have any visual?
No,
distinctive
they all
elements?
look identical.
They don't have like hipster glasses or anything.
And there's the regular toad. There's a toad with glasses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like one toad with glasses. So like
one guy, man, whoever made those glasses must not be doing very well in his business.
I don't know.
One toad.
There's probably a couple with glasses, but like.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but like, 95% of maybe 98% of the toads look identical. They just, you know, it's the same regular toad with just a swapped palette. Like, you know, they're green or yellow or red, but they all look the same. And I don't know why they did that. I don't know. And they also don't have names, so you pretty much can't distinguish one from the other. Like they kind of established, okay, this toad is like, he's a really good bridge builder, and this toad is an expert on bridge builders. So like you kind of get like little tidbits of character here and there, but it doesn't go anywhere. There's no depth to it. I was really disappointed by the cast of characters in this game.
So the toads, they're all identical looking. I'm wondering if Miyamoto had to do like the same thing here, or if they just carry this over from Sticker Star, because it was pretty much like that in Sticker Star. And it's almost like, why can't we have, you know, this town be toads, but this town be Goombas? Yeah. You know, if you have to make them generic, why not just use some of the enemy sprites, whatever, you know, have a spiny town of spinies, whatever. And then you can have some other jokes, like, I don't know, Goombas complaining about their soft heads, or Spinies talking about being thrown by Lackey Twos. I don't know, whatever. I don't write Nintendo comics or anything. But I agree with what you're saying. It feels like even with the writing being good, which it technically was in Sticker Star, just, you know, they did what they could with it, you don't have that connection with these characters, because instead of this guy being named Tasty or Frosty or whatever, it's just that toad that builds bridges. You know, it's not really, it becomes less of a character and just like this one brief little snippet of something interesting that doesn't really stick with you because they all look identical. I mean, I guess it sounds a little superficial. There we go. But the visual element kind of adds a lot to a design of a character, the whole creation of a character.
Yeah, and it doesn't require that much either. In Paper Mario, you know, you'd have Goombas and Koopas and Koopa Troopas, and really, you just like throw a mustache on them, throw a hat on them, and that's enough. Really, but they don't even do that. Just a couple little things to differentiate the toads would have been really nice. And very few of them have anything to differentiate them visually.
Well, I want to ask, though, you know, I hear very mixed things about this game, but by and large, the reception seems more positive than Sticker Star, and the people that really like it cite the unique scenarios in the game a lot, like specific things that you do in each level. So what did you think of those?
So I'll be honest, I've only played about 50% of the game. So I got the first 3 big paint stars. There's 6 total. I couldn't force myself to play more than that. So I was really tired of the game by that point. It had exhausted my patience. So what I thought of the first half of the game, I don't think it was very, like, I compared to the first 2 Paper Mario games, I think it was less interesting and less unique in its scenarios.
Well, like, what are some of the things that you do?
In the first star, you go into a big tower, and it's got a bunch of spiky stuff.
All right, there you go.
And you
spiky
fight
stuff.
You fight Morton. And
okay, so they have the Koopalings.
Yeah, the Koopalings are the bosses of each tower.
Do they have dialogue?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But, well, you know, the dialogue though is not very. I didn't find it very funny in general. I think the first two Paper Mario games have much better dialogue than this one. In this one, I feel like it's a bit. The dialogue is very wordy. Like there's kind of a lot of it. And
well, that was probably true in the first 2 games too.
Well,
though.
hang on. But
okay.
But it's not very clever or subtle. Like they're telling jokes. Like you're supposed to laugh here.
It's a little on the nose.
It's kind of on the nose. Like and you kind of expect that pretty much every time you talk to someone, oh, they're gonna try to be witty or they're gonna try to, you know, like I don't know. It got old for me. I didn't really like the dialogue. Didn't keep me going. I didn't want to talk to anyone new because not only were the characters themselves just kind of flat, they didn't have anything to talk about because the story is very, very minimal. And I got halfway through the game and all the story is, hey, Bowser stole the paint. Okay, like that's fine, but they're like unveiling the story in these like big cutscenes. It's very little content that is unveiled very slowly.
Well, it sounds like it's kind of like the other Paper Mario games, and that's more of an episodic story where each chapter kind of has its own little self-contained scenario, and the overarching story is fairly simple.
But nothing happens in each chapter.
Oh, so like, there's not like, I'm trying to think of something besides Glitzville, because Glitzville is kind of the pinnacle of Paper Mario for me.
Yeah, you know, that's a good thing to bring up because this game has something like the Glitz Pit. I would say it's roughly, I would compare it because it's a similar like stadium thing. Okay. It's Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors. Like that's literally the game.
Laughing. wait, so you actually play rock, paper, scissors?
You actually play rock, paper, scissors in this big stadium. There's no skill to it. You know, it's rock, paper, scissors. Like,
is there some sort of like guy with like scissor hands or something that's like the champion or something?
No. There is a champion, like the wizard or whatever, the Rochambeau wizard, I think he's called, and he has a big hand. So he's a toad, but he just has a big head, like a hand for a head. It looks kind of weird, but
that does look weird. It sounds freaky.
Yeah, that is. I mean, so at least he's not a regular looking toad, but everyone else you face in there is a regular looking enemy. They don't have any dialogue or anything. They're just, hey, it's the Goomba.
Okay, so they do have, you can talk to something that's not a toad though.
No, you don't talk to them. The toads introduce them, and they just walk up and you do the.
Oh, you do the rock paper scissors.
Yeah, and it's really simple because, like, before you go in, you can talk to a couple of the toads, and they'll tell you what the weaknesses are. So you win 100% of the time. You always win, and then you get to the final boss, and then it might be kind of a toss up. So you might have to do it again, but you get so many. Like the coin rewards from this are ridiculous. So you basically have infinite money for the whole game just by doing these things. But my main complaint here is that, so you take the Glitz Pit, which was like this super interesting, compelling scenario with a lot of like fun characters and a story that unfolds and fun gameplay. Because you're having to like fight each bad guy, and each bad guy has like a little bit of attitude to him. They have a different character for each bad guy.
Yeah.
And in Color Splash, what could have been something similar to that is dumbed down to a really not. There's no fun playing that Rochambeau, but it's spruced up like it's all this exciting music and the crowds are cheering.
I mean, I can see the humor in going really over the top for something as dumb as like a paper rock scissors thing. So I mean, did it have that going for it?
I don't think it tried to be funny with it. You do it once and you've experienced the whole thing basically, but to get all the like special cards, you have to do it like 10 times or something, which is
just too much for Chris.
Pretty. I mean,
it's a lot of paper rock scissors.
Like it's a chore. It's a chore. It's not fun. But my complaint is that a lot of things in the game were kind of like that, and that they could have been something fun and they weren't. It seems a little thoughtless in that regard. Like another example that pops to mind where it's like, why didn't they think of this or think of something better is like, okay, when you kill an enemy and like these coins pop out. Okay, in every other Mario game, when a coin is bouncing off from an enemy, you can just pick it up. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
But in this game, you have to wait until the coin comes to a rest before you can pick it up.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. It's like, as soon as the first time that happened, as soon as you start the game, you can break some boxes and get coins. And I'm like, why can't I touch them as they're bouncing? It's just this little annoying thing that, how could they not notice that?
That is weird. Tell me about the battle system.
The battle system,
I mean, is like what I described with Sticker Star?
Yeah, actually, it's quite similar. So you collect cards, you know, in various ways throughout the game. And each time you use a card, it's gone. You know, it has a lot of elements of previous Paper Mario RPGs where some enemies are spiky and you can't jump on them. Some enemies are flying. But most of the time, there's some cards like the Fire Flowers that are good against almost everything. And there's really no reason not to just use a bunch of Fire Flowers or, you know, POW blocks. So you stop using a lot of the variety of cards because it's usually not necessary. And there's this roulette wheel where it's like every round during the fight, you can press the spin and it shows you these cards, 10 cards, and then it starts spinning them. And you can stop it to get one of the cards for 10 coins. There's like no reason not to do it. It's like really encouraging you to do it because it's only 10 coins. You can do it every turn. You know, you're using your cards during the battle, so it's a good way to replenish cards. Yeah. And it's very easy to just count the cards and get the one you want. Like before you get good at it, you can like you can pay a little more coins to see the fronts and slow down the spin. But once you get good at it, like I can get the card I want 10 out of 10 times. So instead of having to pay 200 coins for like a Fire Flower that's fully painted at the shop, you can get one for 10 coins almost every time. And it kind of, that combined with the Rochambeau ridiculous money rewards and the other parts of the game, like you complete these challenges here and there and it gives you a ton of coins. You just get so many coins in this game. I've been maxed out at 9,999 coins for, after I played the game for like 8 or so hours, I was pretty much maxed out on coins the rest of the game.
So it's like a Zelda game in that way, not in any other way.
Kinda. I wouldn't compare much of the rest of the game to a Zelda game. But okay, so the combat, I don't like that it basically, there's a huge incentive to do this roulette wheel every single turn. Like it's kind of slow. I'd rather just pay 10 coins to get a random card like really quickly. I think that'd just be more fun and not slow it down so much.
Yeah. Like I don't really like slot machine mechanics in games.
Yeah.
They kind of bug me. Actually, Sticker Star had kind of a heavy use of that too. It was kind of annoying. not as much as what you're saying, but yeah, I don't like that whole watch the thing and then press the button. It's just not really a great gameplay mechanic for me.
Right, but it's so good in this game that you kind of have to do it every turn. And I mean, if you want to maximize your benefits. Yeah. And that makes the battles kind of go really slowly. Even without that, it's kind of clunky to, you have to like select the cards you want, drag them to the space, then you paint them. So you like hold down on them just to fill them up with paint. So that's another resource, is this paint, which I'll get to in a minute. And then you have to click ready and then you flick them. And that's in the advanced mode, actually. There's an extra step if you have the simple mode. So sorting through the cards is another pain because you can hold 99 cards and you just have to like swipe through them to get to the one you want.
Or like single file?
Yeah, they're single file. Like, I don't understand why they don't stack similar cards. So if you have like 10 Fire Flowers, why don't they stack into one stack? That makes no sense to me.
That's a good question.
But they don't.
Huh. That's pretty weird, you know? In Intelligent Systems, it sounds like they made some kind of goofy little mistakes in the game, just in terms of interface and like, you know, quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird for them. They're usually on their game, I find.
And you know, the complaint about not being able to target different enemies, I actually don't mind that at all. I think it works fine for the game. Because if you want to hit someone in the back really bad, then I mean, you can get the line jump card. I mean, most of the time, killing the enemies so quickly that it's not really an issue. The actual combat is pretty easy. The only exception to that is that some enemies deal like a ton of damage to you. Yeah, if you don't block it properly, you'll have to, you know, heal. But
yeah,
it's generally a very easy game in the battles. The only exception to that is when you come up against the boss or something where you're required to have a certain thing card. And if you don't have it, having to leave the boss fight go back to town, get the card, and then come back to the boss fight is really, really annoying.
That sounds familiar for Sticker Star.
Yeah, like, so after playing for a while, I'd understood this. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna keep the thing cards with me all the time. But then there's this museum that you go to where you can donate cards.
Yeah, also like in Sticker Star.
And they take the thing cards. So like, I donated all my cards, and then I went to the next area and fought the boss. And then I'm like, I thought I had all the thing cards. And I had the replica thing cards, which do the same thing in combat, but they don't work the same way. So like, I'm like, okay, I have the replica thing, so I'll just use that. And then the boss is like, get that replica junk out of here. I'm like, what? It does.
This sounds frustrating.
The replica stuff is stupid. They should just. It makes no sense.
Oh boy. Well, that's frustrating.
Yeah. Most of the puzzle solving in this game too is kind of similar to that, in which like, okay, pretty much you go around painting everything as rapidly as possible, and once you've painted everything and you feel like you're stuck, you're like, I guess I need to press the magic view button or whatever. Where like, if there's something you can use your, it's like magic scissors to like cut part of the environment away.
Okay.
It'll show up.
Yeah.
Or so you press the X button, I think, and it'll either do that or there'll be a little space. So it's either a space where you can like walk across it, or a space where you can put a theme card to do something. But like, there's rarely any hints to whether those are there or not. Except, so you just have to go by, well, am I stuck or not? Or did the camera like move in a weird way to like suggest that there's a thing here? And it really functions as little more than like a key. Like it doesn't really do anything clever, or there's no real interaction with it. It's just a key to clear the obstacle. I found it a bit obnoxious because it's just like having a key item. There's no skill to it. There's no...
Yeah, just lock and key thing instead of anything more interesting. Yeah, you would not have liked Sticker Star. Several of these complaints can be applied directly to Sticker Star.
And, you know, I have another complaint about this painting. Like, okay, you have the magic hammer where you smash the ground and it splashes paint everywhere.
Yeah.
So, it's a cool idea. I'm fine with painting stuff. Like, Nintendo's been all about spraying and painting since Mario Sunshine, really.
Yeah.
And the paint in this is it probably has like a lot of the same mechanics from like Splatoon probably.
Right. Like visually.
But painting stuff is not fun because Mario controls really slow, and like when you smash your paint hammer, you have to stop for a second when you're doing it, right? You can't just like walk around and smash as you're walking.
It's not like running around with a roller in Splatoon or something.
Yeah. What this game needed FLUDD.
This game needed FLUDD. The opposite.
Exactly. If you had FLUDD, you could run around and spray at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And that
FLUDD
would have been a lot more fun.
with paint-filled FLUDD.
Yeah, a paint-filled FLUDD. Exactly.
That's a pretty good idea. Because why does ink come out of Mario's hammer anyway? That's kind of unintuitive.
It's just
like
some magic.
Like a stamp hammer.
No, it's just a magic thing.
The magic thing.
Yeah, you meet a paint can, and the paint can gives you powers, and that's about it.
See, when you said FLUDD, I thought you were going to suggest that Mario should run around these worlds, washing all the color away from the remaining worlds. Just play the ultimate villain. But yeah, that's an interesting idea, because then the actual painting of things is kind of fun and messy, and, you know.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot more fun, because as it is, it just feels slow, and, like, if you don't get it just right, so every time you smash your paint hammer, you spend a certain amount of paint, and a lot of the little spots are just about big enough for, if you hit it right in the middle, you'll get it in one hit. But it's you know, it's hard to line up your aim. So because, for instance, if there's a spot on the wall above you, like, so I guess behind you,
yeah,
you have to press the analog stick in just the right angle and press the hammer at the same time. If you release the analog stick and press the hammer, it won't paint the wall, it'll paint the ground.
Hit in front of him.
Yeah, he always hits either to the left or the right, depending where he's facing. So it's just kind of it's not very fun.
Kind of a finicky control system.
Yeah, and if it had used FLUDD and he'd had a little bit better 360 movement, I think that would have been a lot more fun, because it would have kept him moving. It would bring back FLUDD, and I think FLUDD would probably be a little more of a fun companion than the paint can. His name is Huey, and he's kind of a good example of why I don't really like the dialogue very much. Like, they try too hard to make this game funny, and I think it kind of fails. like there's this one scene where there's okay, you go into the forest and everything gets really small. So like there's all these little Goombas that are like so small they're like bugs.
Okay.
And he gets one on his back and he's like, get it off me, get it off me. And Mario hits it with his hammer and like it's very slapstick, like, oh, the paint can, he flies away to the wall and he smashes the wall, and then he gets another one on him later and he's like, oh, get it off me, get it off me. And he's like, and he backs up for a second, oh, I got this one. It's like, it's a very low level of humor.
I like seeing your reenactment of this scene. It's very entertaining. It's a one-man show over here. I got this one. He looked all coy. All right, so that's an example of one of the gags, one of the gags in the game. Okay.
Yeah, and so I think effective humor is when it's something surprising. It's something you're not expecting. It's something that, you know, things are otherwise focused on something else, and then humor kind of pokes in from the side. Mm-hmm. But this game kind of has the humor as the forefront of pretty much every line of dialogue. So I will say that I think this game might be more fun on the Switch.
The Switch.
So, yes, the Switch. And I say that because if the Switch isn't that much more powerful than the Wii U, I think we're going to see a lot of ports. So like you'll get, you know, that'll actually increase the library of the Switch very quickly. Because if the Wii U doesn't have a huge support base, it didn't sell a ton.
I know, but as a Wii U owner, that would be kind of underwhelming for me.
Well, but I mean, look at it this way: the load times will be much faster. And in Color Splash, the load times are kind of annoying because each one's kind of fairly short, but there's a lot of transitioning between scenes in the game. So even if it's like 3 seconds between scenes, it adds up pretty quickly.
So like battles and stuff have a little bit of loading.
Yeah,
okay,
but also you know, like walking between parts of a town or between areas in like a cave or something. It would just be a more enjoyable game if it was, you know, kept up the pace a bit. And so there's just kind of a lot of, you know, load scenes that are like, you know, 3 to 5 seconds. It's not terrible, but
yeah. How are the visuals?
The visuals they're okay. One thing I actually missed is that, okay, you know, in the first 2 games, when you go into a house or something, it often peels apart like it's all made of paper.
Yeah,
it's all like some clever, neat
thing.
Animation, but there's none of that in this game. You just go into a house and then it kind of fades away and then it shows you in the house. So there's no like animation of it's, you know, peeling back like it's made of paper.
Right.
So I guess the paper element of the game is actually reduced in this game. Like yeah, you paint stuff, but you could paint 3D stuff. So there's nothing.
I heard that everything was made out of like a material this time. Like it's made out of cardboard or some sort of felt or something. Like
it's mostly cardboard or paper.
Paper.
So the opening cutscene has a lot of kind of dramatic camera angles that kind of zoom in, and everything's really pretty in that cutscene. Like you see the fire and it's really flickering in this cool way. But the game itself, I don't know, the graphics aren't very impressive, I wouldn't say. I mean, there's a couple nice textures on, like, I like the Shy Guys. Like, there's these, like, wet Shy Guys, so their colors are kind of faded and washed out. And I thought that texture looked nice, but in general, the graphics are just kind of okay.
All right.
Nothing to write home about. I think the effects are kind of bland, like the fire flower and the, I don't know, most of the effects, I think, are kind of lacking. And about the effects, I think in the battle system actually could have used some better effects and better timing on things. Like, even after playing the game for many hours, sometimes I would still miss the beginning of the fire flower, where to do the fire flower properly, you have to. So he transforms and then he holds back his hand and then he charges up a fireball, and you have to do that. And as it's charging, you press A 4 times in a row to throw 4 fireballs. But there's not really a build up to it, so you have a space of maybe 1 second, I guess, to do each one. So it shows him standing there still, and then instantly it starts. So
you gotta feel it. You gotta feel it.
Yeah, but that's what all the timed button presses are. They're all timed. Like, so in Paper Mario and the second one, there's a variety of things you do to get bonus damage, right? So on the hammers, you hold back to the left, and then you release it at the right time. Pretty much all the abilities have a different thing you do.
Yeah,
in
there's
Paper
like
Mario
a meter going.
Right, but in this one, it's all time button presses. The hammer, the jumps, and the fireballs, everything, you just press A at the right time. That's really it. And it doesn't look as nice and flashy. Like they made it so when you do a regular jump attack, you jump up to 5 times with a regular jump. But there's no stylish moves, you know, it doesn't deal a ton of damage. Well, no, it does. What was I gonna say? Something about it I didn't like. Oh, I think I have to mention this. So the game actually has a bunch of sudden action sequences that take place. Like you'll be going around the level doing something, and then suddenly something happens where you have to react quickly and do some platforming, or else you're gonna die instantly.
Oh.
And I found them all to be really annoying because they give you a game over, and you have to, you go out of the game, you reload it, and I don't see why they had to do that. If you're gonna get an instant death, fine, but at least just automatically restart me from the beginning of this segment. Usually there's a save spot like just right behind it, but forcing the player to like get a game over screen and go back to the title screen, which takes actually a good 10 to 15 seconds to load, just the title screen, and then reload the save is kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, Nintendo's always been kind of bad about reloads and retries in games, I've noticed. Like even like the new Super Mario Brothers games, like you would die and then Mario would be kicked out into the world map and no, do like this animation, and you select it and it shows your lives, and then you're back, you're back and on your feet again. But I mean, compare that to like, I don't know, the Donkey Kong Country games where it's like and you go up on the balloon. I mean, the newer ones. Sorry.
Yeah.
Returns and Tropical Freeze. You quickly go up on the balloon and there you are.
Yep.
It's all consolidated. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean with that.
Like I thought they were kind of fun ideas to mix it up, but the problem with the platforming is that Mario controls very similarly to the first 2 games, where you move kind of slow, the collision's kind of wonky, so you can't always hit what you want to hit when you're jumping. And when you're suddenly thrust into a life or death situation where your platforming is going to determine whether you live or instantly die, that adds an extra layer of frustration. So I had to redo each one multiple times, kind of depleted some of my goodwill for the game. Overall, I think that the game had some good ideas, and it could have been a lot of fun if they injected a little more life into the game. Like Kamek returns, and he could have been cool, but the battles are generally so easy that the effects that he puts on you are gone like before you even notice them. And I would have preferred he messes with you a lot more, and the effects have more lasting consequences. And then once you win those battles, you get 300 coins,
which could be 30 fire flowers.
Yeah. Regarding those instant deaths things, so there's one part of the game which is like this hotel. That's in the 3rd chapter. It's this hotel with a bunch of like, you think it's gonna be haunted with like ghosts, something interesting, but they're just dead toads.
Oh geez.
Yeah,
they're
like
dead toads.
Well, yeah, they're like ghosts in.
Oh, toad ghosts.
They're toad ghosts. Yeah.
I gotcha. Not like corpses of toads strewn about.
That would have been more interesting, I guess. Okay, so there were some fun things about the segment, like the music's good, and it's a little different from the previous segments, but it's still very straightforward. Like, how do you solve this situation? Hit it with your hammer, your paint hammer, so you paint everything. My biggest complaint about it actually is that there's this arbitrary time limit on it, where if you don't solve it all within the 3 hour, like there's a clock in the hotel that's going, it doesn't even tell you that you can only do it when you have to finish it in a certain time frame. So the first time I did it, I was about to get the last toad, but the 3 hours had passed and it suddenly wiped out all my progress. And then it starts you back at the beginning and says, oh, it must be caught in a time loop. That's why, like, what?
They just kind of throw this really crazy concept at you.
Yeah. It was irrelevant to like what was actually happening. Like nobody was stuck in a time loop as far as I could see. And
that's a little odd.
Yeah, that was a little odd. So overall, if they'd had as much character in this game as Paper Mario 2 or 1, where you have like a diverse cast of characters that's actually interesting, if they made this combat system a lot more streamlined, even like, I'm not even saying change it completely. Like if they want to do this thing that's like different, fine, but they made a lot of very questionable design decisions, I think, that really dragged the game down in the end. But it has a great soundtrack. I will say that. Yeah, the director of Color Splash was Risa Tabata. And she has a lot of kind of funky quotes about the game. Like, she's like, yeah, the characters are all toads. We don't have a proper story, but it's a story. We already have Mario and Luigi as the RPG series, so we decided to focus more on the puzzles and humor of Paper Mario.
I mean, Mario and Luigi already has humor too. Like, that's a weird excuse. And it has puzzles, so I mean, I don't know.
The puzzles in this game are not very clever, not very interesting. They're very basic.
I mean, the puzzles in Paper Mario that's never really been the thing I think about when I think of the Paper Mario series is the puzzles.
I think of the fun writing, but as I was describing, I didn't really enjoy the writing as much in this game. Do you think it's reasonable for them to make Paper Mario less of an RPG series because there's this other series of RPG games?
That's kind of a tricky question, actually, because I think the Mario and Luigi series has its own strengths. Personally, I feel like they've kind of made too many of them, especially lately. But I understand the viewpoint that Nintendo looks at their ongoing series. They have two RPG series that are just two Mario RPG series, no less, that are ongoing and are trying to find a way to distinguish one from the other. And the route they've chosen is to make Mario and Luigi the core RPG series and Paper Mario more of this sort of unusual adventure offshoot RPG hybrid thing.
Yeah. I
think most fans would kind of prefer the other way around, I guess, if they had to, or just even, keep them both like they are now, because I don't think I don't think either franchise is doing poorly in terms of sales. So, well, I mean, they might be after Sticker Star and Color Splash. I don't know. Actually, no, that's not true. Sticker Star actually did really well. So maybe that's why they stuck with this path. Personally, I really like I really like the first two games. I'm sure you do too, based on our conversation over the last hour. Yeah. So I guess in the future, I would love to see another game of that style, bring back the characters, bring back the really intricate combat and the badges, which I love and I miss dearly. I like the badges so much, I'm probably going to use that as a concept in the next video game I'm working on. Use something similar to it, because I think it's such a great gameplay idea that could be used in a variety of genres, really.
I totally agree. I think they should really go back to the old style of Paper Mario. I mean, I have an open mind. I'm always willing to try something new, but I don't think they've done good things when they're shaking up the series. It's missing the heart and soul of the old Paper Mario games. It's missing the deep and enjoyable gameplay.
Oh, well, those are two pretty big things. All right, one last question. What is your favorite of these three? Color Splash, Mighty Number 9, and Star Fox Zero.
Star Fox Zero, easily.
I remember our discussion about Star Fox Zero. I'm still overall I'm positive about that game. I feel positive about it.
Yeah. But after playing these other games, yeah, it seems pretty good in my mind.
Bring on the janky 2 cameras controlling system.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Star Fox, I could see myself playing again. Like, the high score system is kind of fun in most of the levels, and even if it's kind of janky, like, it's still got a lot more replayability than those other two games, and yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that kind of wraps up for Color Splash. So, Chris, what would you say is your favorite of all the Mario RPGs, of the ones you've played?
Probably one of the 2 Paper Mario games.
Okay, you put them both above Mario RPG.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Mario RPG is a great game.
Well, I feel like we could have our own podcast about the other series.
Yeah, we'll talk about the other RPGs another time. But I think the last time I played Mario RPG, it hadn't aged that well. Like, it wasn't as engaging as I remembered it being. So maybe I'd have to play it again before really discussing it. But yeah, the first 2 Paper Mario games hold up as really great games that I think will stand the test of time.
Yeah, I see. Well, Chris, it sounds like between this and Mighty Number 9 and Star Fox Zero, the Wii U has not had a very good year for you, huh?
No.
Thank goodness for Tadpole Treble.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best Wii U game of the year as far as I've played.
Sweet. You heard it here, folks, from my unbiased friend.
Although I don't think I would give it Game of the Year. We'll discuss that at a later point.
Yeah, we gotta have a Game of the Year talk, but I think that would be good for maybe next month, January, maybe February. Yep. Speaking of intelligent systems, I've been playing Advance Wars Dual Strike.
Oh yeah, I think we'll talk about Advance Wars next time, huh?
From the guys that made Paper Mario Color Splash.
Yeah, how can they make a great game like that and then make a crummy game like this?
I don't know. I'm curious about Color Splash now, but you know, it really does sound a lot like Sticker Star, and that's kind of why I didn't feel like going out and getting it, because I miss the old Paper Mario. I guess we are a couple of old fogies here, so actually we'd like to hear your thoughts on Sticker Star. Do Chris's...
It's a Sticker Star.
Wait, no. Well, okay, sure, on that too, but mainly on Color Splash. Do Chris's criticisms ring true for you, or was Color Splash a rainbow of... I don't know. I can't really think of some sort of fun wordplay. So, was it good or was it bad? Leave a comment. Okay, well, cool. I guess that wraps up another edition of the Brawl in the Family podcast.
It does.
Hopefully you guys all have a Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Indeed. Enjoy
your break with loved ones and such. Also, the Brawl in the Family books are currently on sale. A little plug there for you. If you've been sitting on that for a while and want to buy some, we got a holiday sale going out throughout this month. By the time you hear this, can't guarantee that they'll be in by Christmas, but yeah, we're gonna have the sale going on. So if you don't mind, I'm getting them a little late. Hop to the site and order them before they are gone, because once they're gone, they're gone. Not ordering anymore.
Yep. So this is your last chance. Your last chance. And
yeah. Hurry up.
If you miss it, you'll regret it. Just like when you didn't order the DD dolls.
Yes.
You're regretting those, aren't you?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, everybody's regretting them. I get emails about those every month. I was like, sorry, didn't buy them when you could have.
Yep.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. All right, so thanks for tuning in, everybody, and enjoy your December. Enjoy your New Year's.
Please do, and we'll see you next month, where we'll talk about, I think, Advance Wars.
Yeah, we might be covering Advance Wars next time around. Yep. A series that, in my opinion, needs a lot more love, a lot more respect.
Do I agree? Find out next time on the Brawl in the Family podcast.
Nice. All right, see ya.